Hey everyone, it's great to see you tonight. Glad you could join us. We're experiencing a little bit of technical delay, so it might be a little slow on your end, but I'm glad that you're able to be with us this evening. We weren't able to be on here last night. We had some pretty significant storms come through, blow through much of central Indiana. If you're with us, significant damage just a little bit south of us in Mooresville and Franklin and stuff. So the storms are pretty scary. And so, hi, Julie.
Hey, Julie.
It's great to see you on tonight. Let us know, comment, let us know that you're on, watching us if you're on. Um, but last night so the storms blew through. We had power loss, some issues, some scared kids.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
were you scared at all?
The sounds outside were a little concerning.
It was pretty significant outside, but with some scared kids, they one of them asked if our oldest son could play some worship, and so I just want to share this picture with you of what happened last night. The candles lit in the background, and our oldest son playing the guitar, playing some worship, while the storm is raging around us. And I think this is a good picture
Hmm.
for our topic for tonight. Um, and so, what's that topic, Carissa? What are we going to talk about this evening?
We're going to talk about isolation.
Isolation. And why do I say that the picture of Elliot and his guitar playing in the middle of the storm? Why do you think I wanted to bring that picture into our conversation about isolation?
Well,
I know I just threw this on you right
if I
now.
can read your mind, I think that maybe you chose that picture because we were in a situation where it was scary. There was a storm going all around us, and one of our children chose not to focus on the storm and the scariness around us, instead chose asked to help focus on the Lord. And so maybe that has something to do with it, like how worship and focusing on God, and when we're in times of isolation, if we focus on Him, that can maybe help us get through those scary times a little bit better.
I think that's definitely part of it.
Okay.
That's definitely half of it right there. I think there's also the flip side, right?
Hmm.
And what was the flip side of one of our children focusing on worship? What was the flip side of that? We had another child focusing on
He was very afraid.
fear,
Yeah,
right?
he was really scared and very uneasy to calm down.
Uh, correct. And when did he start being fearful? Do you remember?
Mm-mm.
So he came downstairs. So you're in our living room right now, and so around us are some couches and some seats, and we were sitting here, in fact, preparing for our partly preparing for our Hope from the Stevens home and getting stuff ready. And he came down because the wind was blowing.
Hmm.
There's thunder, there's lightning, um, and it was just really windy. And he came downstairs. He was supposed to be in bed, right?
Hmm.
But he came downstairs and said that he was really afraid. Had the power flickered or anything yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. So he was fearful just with the sound of the storm.
Hmm.
What happened after the power went out?
He was not happy.
He was not happy at all. And this isn't this is normal, right? I mean, this is okay. It's okay for him to be fearful
Hmm.
and experience that. And so, what did you try to do, for him?
I think if I remember right, I tried to reassure him that it's normal. Where we live, like it's normal for the lights to flicker and the power to flicker on and off at times. In fact, it did it tonight, and it was just windy again. And so I think I just tried to assure him that he was okay and that he didn't need to be afraid.
And was that very helpful?
No.
No, it wasn't very helpful at all. There's still that fear, and that's normal for us in our humanity. It's normal when there's storms around us, to feel that anxiety and that stress and that fear, and particularly we have many years of walking through these storms and knowing there's a pretty good chance that nothing's going to come from these storms. We might lose a tree, we might have something, but no significant damage is going to come, right?
Mm-hmm.
He has a much shorter period of lifespan,
Right.
and to have that assurance that the storm isn't going to, cause significant that the percentages, the probability of causing significant damages is not very big, right? He has a much smaller window, and so that's normal for him. But then he asked, for some worship, right? Power did go out. We're sitting here in the dark, and again, if you haven't seen that picture, I just want to, show you that picture. So worship was asked for, and so we lit candles, and our oldest son got his guitar out and began to play some worship music. How did that help the situation?
He calmed down and he shifted his focus. It seemed like he stopped worrying about the storm and instead was focusing on worshiping and singing and focusing other places during that time.
Yeah. So, we did see that with him last night. He began to calm down. The storm is not lessening at all. The lights didn't come back on. But there's something to direct our focus to, and something new to direct our focus to. And so we just want to encourage you in that tonight, like to find that in directing your focus. I wanted to talk about isolation, and so we talked about that tonight. But we had two sons that.
We have three of them.
Well, we have three, but we're talking about two of them from the story last night. 3 sons and a daughter. But we had 2 sons last night. One, who they're both going through the same circumstance. It's a storm outside. It's windy. It's thunder and lightning. The power goes out. But they respond differently to the circumstance. They're both isolated. Right? I mean, we're living in this isolation that's called stay at home, the stay at home order, and so we're living in this isolation, and in the middle of that isolation, then comes this storm. I saw somebody post on Facebook, I think today, that's the most what they say, most entertaining or most exciting thing that's happened during quarantine is this storm.
So they were all outside watching the storm instead of getting shelter or something.
Yes, they're all out there like, wow, that's so awesome. Yeah, instead of taking shelter in place, right?
Yeah.
And so, but we have these two sons, that one has more age, and so that age can help provide that maturity on how we respond in the storm. But it's also a matter of focus. That there's a reason why isolation is one of the worst forms of punishment. When a person goes to prison and they're put in that isolation cell that by themselves when they are there, and because many times in prison they're put with people, and there's shared space, and there's public space. How do we know? Chris and I both worked in maximum security juvenile detention centers. Center, many years ago, and so we know what that looks like. They have their own cell, but then they have that common space and that group room. They have activities and stuff they do together. But when they're in trouble, even juveniles, when they're in trouble, they get sent to that isolation. They're by themselves, and there's a reason why that's so. That's the worst punishment. We need people. I don't know about you. I mean, do you need people right now?
Yeah.
Very much so. what are you going to do? What are you going to do when we get out of this self stay-at-home order?
I don't know yet. I haven't thought about it because it still seems so far away. I don't want to be disappointed if it continues to be extended. So I haven't allowed myself to think about that yet. It'll probably involve seeing some friends, maybe giving some hugs and high fives. I don't know. We'll see.
So
what are you going to do?
Probably lots of high fives, hugs, the man hug where you lean in, patting on the back and stuff. Lots of those, greeting people, because we need that interaction. But right now, when we're in isolation, isolation can cause us to respond in many different ways. What happens when you get in isolation? Where do you mentally tend to go? I'm asking you to be vulnerable here.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Normally when I'm secluded or isolated from my friends or my community of people, usually mentally I don't go very positive places. It's usually pretty dark, a lot of self-loathing and condemning and just a very negative headspace.
It's easy to get that way.
Definitely.
I think that, friendship is, and other people are that light, right? That help us stay in the lighter spaces. And what happens, I think, when they see us, falling, sliding down that hill, to those places, and then they can pull us back and help us stay out of it. And I mean, we've had that experience in our own marriage, where, like, we've joked around where it's been good that we both haven't been in a bad place at the same time.
Correct.
One of us is always, in a better place, so we can help each other out, because we have those times. And isolation definitely tends towards, I'll put it this way, whatever's inside of us is going to come out of us.
Right.
Somebody said it this way. I don't know who it was, and so, but they said whenever you get squeezed, what's inside comes out. So whenever you get squeezed, and many of us find that as we get squeezed, that we are still dealing with some the silversmithing term is dross. It's impurities that are in there. When you get put under heat and pressure, that dross, those impurities come up and stuff. And we find those impurities in our life because of how we tend to think and where our thoughts tend to go and those things that happen. So that's what happens in isolation. We get squeezed, and we're getting squeezed right now. So how do we choose something different?
Well, I think we have to intentionally make a shift in our focus. Just like our one son last night who was fearful and panicking and just really struggling with the storm that was happening, he spoke up and said, "Hey, can we start singing and sing some songs?" And like he recognized something that might help him shift his focus. And when he shifted his focus, then it helped him not focus on the storm or be fearful. And so I think it's the same with us. That's an illustration of how that works. Like, we can continue to choose to focus on the isolation and the negative things, or we can change our focus to focusing on something different. And so then the question is, if we're changing our focus, then what do we need to think of differently, Josh?
I think we need to find those things that are, true and joyful, of good report. The Bible has a great list in Philippians 4:8 of things to think on. And whether you're a Christ follower or not, this is still a great list of mental health attributes, things to think on, and focus on to help you maintain that healthy that mental health that we need. And so you can read it, Philippians 4:8. You can Google that. But there's several different qualities of things that we need to think on. A good report, that they're true, noble, and excellent, worthy of praise. Those are the things I love. If you haven't had a chance to, I encourage you to check out John Krasinski's Some Good News.
Yes.
That's a good report. Who's John Krasinski? Well, maybe you know him better as Jim Halpert from The Office, or maybe you know him better as Jack Ryan from the Tom Clancy series on Amazon. But you might know him. He played in the Benghazi movie. He's been in A Quiet Place with his wife. He's an actor, but he put together this show called Some Good News, and positive things to think on, and encouraging things. Music is a great thing to lift our spirits. It's also something that dampens our spirits. And so, I remember when I was in high school, we've talked about this, there was a girl that I really liked, and she didn't like me at all. Like, I asked her out a few times, she didn't like me, and I think, maybe I made this up in my head, but I think that one of her favorite bands at the time was Chicago. And so I had the Best of Chicago albums CD, and I popped them in my Discman. Those of you who remember Discmans, and I would listen to those hits all the time. Now, I found myself in some very dark places, really depressed places, because many of those hits from Chicago are negative. If you see me walking by and there's a tear in my eye, look away, baby, look away. I mean, talking about breakups and loneliness and lost love, and it was dark places for me because of music. So music has the power to lift up, as our worship did last night, or the power to depress. And so it's really important to recognize what things are going to lift you up. There's a lot of great material out there by various authors. John Maxwell has a book called Thinking for a Change. Samuel Chand, another leadership guy, has a book out there about thinking and the results of positive thinking. Psychology and psychologists are recognizing the truth in positive thinking that the Bible describes, from nearly 2,000 years ago, and how it can help us. So we're in isolation. Like, the stay-home order is for at least another 10 days, 11 days. We're in this isolation, maybe isolated with family, maybe isolated with kids, maybe isolated with people that are frustrating and annoying at times, maybe not all the time, I know, but we're in that place, and so it's important for us to think differently. Because the isolation isn't going to shift.
Right. But our focus in the isolation can shift.
Our focus can shift. And in order to stay in that healthier place, our focus needs to shift. And so how do we focus a little bit differently? So what's one thing that you do or have done or plan to do to help you stay focused on more positive things?
One thing that really helps me is journaling. It helps me stay in that positive space where I have a time set aside just to write out how I'm feeling and what I'm thinking. That's one thing.
That's really good. Because I know one thing you've talked about is when you have a negative thought, like journaling out the positive, like the opposite of that.
Yeah. So, you asked me to be vulnerable, and that is one thing that I've really struggled with over time, is that I've listened to and believed lies about myself especially, and so I've really been trying to not listen to those lies, because listening to those lies and believing them very quickly leads to a very dark space. And so I've been trying to do something different by, when those lies come into my mind, what you say, like capturing those thoughts and replacing them with the truth. Because even though I know that those things aren't true, it's easy to focus on them and get into a really dark space. And so recognizing and writing out what the truth is instead of listening to a lie is really helpful.
That's really good. And so maybe that's something that you can do at home. I think another thing is listening to positive, encouraging music. That could be K-Love, right? Positive, encouraging K-Love, or Air One, or just any music that lifts you up and lifts your spirits. I love listening to classical music. There's just a vibrancy in life in classical music, and so I love listening to classical music. I love putting my noise canceling headphones on, so that I can really focus inwardly on how I'm doing. Because we're all in this house. There's
our house is loud.
Our house is loud. 4 kids, a dog, 22 chickens now, baby chicks that we'll have to show you on here one day.
And my brother.
Your brother is here, and then we have a college student who's away with his family right now, but here with us as well. And so our house is loud. It's fun. It's lively, but it's loud. And sometimes you need those noise canceling headphones to really focus inward. And how are you doing? And so there are just a few ideas on. We can't change the isolation. You can try to get out, but
go outside.
Yeah,
go for a walk. Yes, that's a good thing to do. But
you're still kind of alone. Like you're still in our social distancing. You're still kind of alone. You're still kind of that space is there, and so there's a sense of isolation and loneliness. But there is, with a shift in perspective, a shift in focus, we can determine to be grateful in it, not for it. There's a difference in those are prepositions, right? And for. So we're not grateful for it. I miss my friends, I miss my people, but we can choose our perspective and be grateful for. Grateful in, and have gratitude. There's one friend I saw on Facebook. She posted that a year ago she prayed that every time she had a negative thought that God would drop in her mind something to be thankful for. And then did you read this?
I saw it.
And she said, so shout out to you right there, Rachel. But she said, and she would have these kind of annoyingly so things to be grateful for. And so maybe that's a good challenge for you, that you say every time I have a negative thought or a complaint or something to complain about. I want to write down 1 or 2, maybe double your negative thoughts with your positive thoughts. I'm going to come up with 2 positive things I have to be thankful for, things I have to be grateful for. And so those are ways that we can retrain our thinking, because that's really what it comes down to.
Yes.
Is shifting, not just shifting our thinking, but retraining it. Because at the end of the day, why could Carissa and why could we sit here calmly in the middle of the storm? Because over the years, we've been through so many storms that we had a high degree of certainty that we're going to come out of it okay. Based on the weather, based on the radar, what we saw, based on there was no, tornado sirens going off, even though we were under a watch. We knew that the storm might be bad, but we knew with a high degree of certainty that we didn't have to live in that fear. So, the same thing is true with our thinking. The more you go through things like we're going through, but the more you shift your thinking and you realize that, hey, what I'm going through isn't going to kill me. It's not going to, there's that old quote, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Like those things that we're going through it, but I have friends and people that care about me. I have people that want to speak into my life. Call somebody up if you're dealing and struggling with that isolation and loneliness, because people care. And people want to care. It might be a pastor at church. It might be people in your community of faith. It might be people from your workplace. But there are people that want to speak into your life and be there. And maybe you say, we don't have anybody. I don't have anybody. Well, hit us up. in the comments, or if you know us personally, hit us up via a direct message in our communication channels or phone call, and we'll be happy to talk with you, because we understand what it's like to live in that state of isolation and loneliness. But we want to help us get through and build a new set of thinking, a positive set of thinking in the middle of the storm, so that we can be calm and centered, because of we know that there's positive things, there's good things to look for. Do you have any final words, Carissa? No, not at all. All right. Well, thank you for joining us tonight. We're glad that you're here and able to watch. Please share with your friends, and you can subscribe, like us, and let us know how we're doing. If you have any comments or things that you'd like to share with us, please leave a comment and let us know. And we just want to bring a little bit of hope from our family to yours, to you, to your family, to your situation. Do we have it all together? Not at all. Not at all. Are we perfect? Absolutely not. Are we learning? Yes. And we just want to share with you in this time. And so we love you, even if we don't know you. We love you. Thank you for joining us for these few moments. Have a great night.